Block kicks it off over to Melo. Melo lays it quickly over to Ares now. Ares is looking for an option and decides to go for block once again. Block now. Being pressured, decides to pass it back to Ares. Ares, simple one over to Melo. Melo flicks it over and pass it to PRX. PRX over to Zov. Zov has space, decides to pass it into Lee's instead. Lee's pass it back to Zov. A bit tight, but he gets it. Back to Lee's once again. Looking for a pass. Switches it over to Ares. And Ares is now in the midfield. Bullets it over to Accepting. Accept now. Dribble flicks. Gets LD'd by Walk. Wap now. Simple flick over to Blue Q. Blue Q switches it to Acid. Acid to Ken in the midfield. Ken switches it over to the left side into Frede. And Frede now is running down the wing. He has quite some space he can use. So he's indeed doing that. Simple switch over to Acid. Acid tries to get it in the box. Luki's there, shoots, misses. Unlucky. Goal kick for Rockets. Robert over to Lees. Licks now. Back into Zov. And Zov has the ball in the center back position. Decides to switch it over to Ares. Ares now. Down the wing. Flicks. Not quite the options he's hoping for. Decides to give it away anyway. Accepting now. Back into PRX. Tries to pass it to Ares. Misses the touch. Ares is gonna go for it. Doesn't have a lot of stamina. And Webb gets it, but Ares gets it back. Ares tries to bullet in it, but Block does get it back though. Flicks it over. Accepting there, but doesn't get it. Acid onto TX. TX switches it over to Blue Q. Blue Q now. Searching for options. Tries to do a header pass, but misses miserably. Block is there for the ball. Over to Melo. Melo plays it safe back to the goalkeeper. Robert now. Small one over to Ares. Looking for our option. Easy pass into Zov. Zov now. Flicks once. Doesn't have the options he wants to, so he gives it back to Ares. Ares, small driven into Melo. Melo has a lot of space he can use, but decides to try and dime from there. That was pretty stupid. But Economic gets it. Frede reaches his pass. Keeps going. Small one over to Ken. Ken. Bullets Whoop. Whoop now. Tries to full bullet, but it doesn't quite get there, and PRX now has the ball. Driven over a Whoop into Melo. Melo. Through balls to Block. But doesn't quite get there. Flicks. Frede now. Back to a goalkeeper playing it safe. Rafi. Onto Acid. Luke. Luke has a lot of space to use in the midfield. Bullets Corky. Corky gets LD'd by Licks, unlucky. Acid gets the clearance. Acid now. Drivens it in the box. Luke is there, shoots, goal. 1-0 to Sapphire Coast. Beautifully done. Accepting kicks off the game again into PRX. PRX now. Small pass over to Licks. Licks decides to pass it short to Zov. Zov is getting pressured, but Trinko is there. Trin switches it over to Ares, playing it safe. Ares now. Tries to bullet Melo, and Melo barely gets it, but makes a huge mistake with his flicks, and now Corky has it. Corky in the midfield, running down. Small pass over to Tasro. Good block by Leaks. Cleared. And Frede is gonna get that clearance. Small one over to Ken. And Ken has the ball once again. Good driven over to Corky. Corky, beautiful through ball over to Tasro. Tasro now. Cross. Most. Ares. Clearance gotten by Ken. Ken is looking for a potential bullet and he misses it. Trin gets it and clears it. And accepting is gonna get this clearance. Accepting now, down the wing. Looking for his teammates to go up to his level. Balls it to Zoh. I don't know where the right back is. Zoh has a lot of space now. Acid is trying to catch up to him, but he doesn't quite get it. Cross it in. Most by economic. Corky gets a clearance. Corky now. Midfield. Decent football, but doesn't quite get there. Trin now. Looking for a safe option. Risky, and it shows, but PRX still gets it. PRX now. Through balls it over to block. He might be getting that. No, economic gets there and clears it. Melo is there though. Melo now. Small one to PRX. Flicks to the other side of his body. And he's looking for a potential cross here. Fakes him a bit. Still with the ball. Still with the ball. Crosses it in the box. Must by economic. Cleared. Licks is there to get the clearance. Licks now. Not many options, so he passes it back to Eris. Eris. Watch, sees PRX, but I do not know what that pass was. Ken. Bullets to Tastro. Tastro does get it and instantly passes it over to Frede. Beautiful tiki-taka right there. Frede now has a lot of space to use. He can easily dime this. He does indeed dime it into Corky. Shoots, goal. 2-0 Sapphire Coast. Beautiful. And it's once again a kickoff for Rockets. Legs now. Legs now. Who balls it over to Zov? Zov will barely get there. Legs away. Well, now. Tries to switch it over to Corky, and Corky will get there, but no, barely. Lees gets it instead. Legs over to Zov. Flicking. Small pass over to PRX. PRX has a lot of space to use. Tries to dime it over, and block does get there, but it's an inner. Unlucky for the Rockets. Rough. Small pass over to Ken. And now getting pressured by accepting, but he does not fall for it. Ken over to Blue Q. Has to dime Corky, but the goalkeeper is there to sweep it up and give it back to Zov. Zov, small pass over to Liz. Tries to dime and does get there. That beautiful ball. Block is there, flicks again. Beautiful pass, accepting is there for the finish. Blocked by Acid. And on to Blue Q once again. Blue Q now, down the left wing. Melo is there, but doesn't have the stamina to catch up to him fully. Goes for a dime, but it's once again way too long for Corky to get it. Robert, back to Zov. Zov has a lot of space here. Decides to play it over to PRX. PRX now. On the left wing. Decides to run with it. Liz was fair, but he didn't pass. He decides to pass it back to Zov. Zov now. Legs. Running down the wing. Wap is getting to her. He forces it in and it's cleared by economic. Sapphire Coast kickoff. Castro over to Blue Q. Blue Q switches it over to Frede. Frede is on the left wing now, running down. Tries to dime, but that's way too short. And PRX gets it. Over to Block. Block. Switches to Melo. Melo has a lot of space to use, a lot of space. And this could be a big chance for the Rockets. Melo. Oh, that's very unlucky. Zov is there to get it though. Tries to pass it back to Melo and he does get it. Melo is now looking for a potential bullet, I suppose. Tries to, does get it over Zov. Zov flicks but misses his second flick and it's cleared by Frede onto Corky. Corky now. Flicks over Trin. waiting for his teammates. Back into economic and switches it over to Acid now. Acid, right wing. Running down, he has some space to use. Tries to dime Corky, but doesn't quite get there. Trin. Rubos accepting. Accepting. Tries to flick over Blue Q, but Blue Q easily gets it. And accepting is there to get it back. He will not allow that. Tries to cross it in. Block is there, but doesn't get it. Economic. Most. Clearance taken by Tasho. Beautiful play so far by Sapphire Coast. Corky now. Going strong. Flicks it over to Wop. Wap on the left wing, switches it over to Ken. Ken tries to flick but misses, but Corky's there to cover him. Wap gets it instead, actually. Wap looking for a potential cross here, jumps over Leaks, crosses it. Acid is there, shoots. Whoa, what the hell was that? Okay. Goal kick for Rockets. Robert. To Leaks. Leaks has Zov in front of him and does give it to Zov indeed. Zov into PRX. PRX now is looking for a potential pass on the back post now. Flicks, looking for a bullet potentially. Still going strong though. Decides to, crosses it in. Block high, the other side of the gates, but it's a goal still. Unlucky by the goalkeeper. It was kind of slow, so couldn't have predicted it. Kickoff for Sapphire Coast. Tasho, over to Blue Q. Blue Q tries to switch it over, but it's a bit slow, so Ares gets it. Simple pass to accepting. Accepting, switch it over to PRX. We are around PRX right now, so pass it back. Accepting now. Left wing. Looking for a switch up, and he does indeed switch it. Melo now. Tries to, I don't know what that was. I don't know what to say. Rough. Simple switch over to Ken. Train over to Licks. Melo over to Licks. Licks gives it off to Zov. Back to Licks now for the 1-2. Licks doesn't seem to have too many options. He decides to force it on the other side instead, and Ares is probably gonna get that. He doesn't have a lot of stamina though, and Tasho takes advantage of it, locking him down. Tasho jumping over Ares, tries to dime, but Trin gets it. Trin now. Over to Ares. Down the left wing, decides to pass it over, but Luke gets it instead. Luke over to Tasho. Tasho is not offside, and he's got a lot of space to use for himself. He's running down now. This could be another goal for Sapphire Coast. He's going alone, shoots, goal. 1-3 to Sapphire Coast. Captain kicks it off to Zov. Zov now switches it over. Licks gets it. Seems to be coasting, lagging a lot. Still pulls off a through ball though. And PRX is there to get it. Flicks away, fails miserably, and Fredde gets it instead. Fredde. Easy pass over to Ken. Headed by Melo outside, and it's a free kick for Sapphire Coast. Ken quickly gives it off to Blue Q. Crosses it in, but most by Trin. Fredde is going to get a clearance. Back into the box. Trin must again and cleared. Ken gets the clearance. Switching up the tempo of the game now. Crosses it in. Bad cross, but Tashrok blocks the clearance. Tries to shoot. Stolen by Bluky, and Bluky scores it for him. 1-4 to Sapphire Coast. Accepting now. The kickoff over to PRX. PRX switches to the left wing over to Zov. And Zov is looking around. Decides to go for Trin. Trin, easy pass over to Licks. I don't know where the left back is. Licks has a lot of space. Decides to cross it in early as hell. Most by economic. Corky gets the clearance, but Trin gets it back. Trin now. Back to Licks. Licks, still on the right wing. Over to PRX, small one. PRX looking for a potential cross here, but is pressured by both Ken and Wop. Chen goes back, leaves Wop for PRX. PRX does get the cross, but it's most by economic once again. Shin, out of the box, Bluky gets it. Bluky, stolen by Frede, pressured by Block, but not quite there. Corky, over to Bluky. Bluky has some space to use, so he's switching up the tempo of the game, going slowly but surely getting there. But he was being too slow, turns out, because Trin locked him down. Flipped. 65 flip, that's a call. Ken taking the free kick. Simple pass over to Wop, back into Ken. Ken is now looking for a potential bullet. What the hell was that? Goal kick for Rockets. Goal kick. Robert now. Over to Zov on the left wing once again, like many times in this game. Zov still hasn't found his option yet, but does find it eventually, accepting there, but he's offside. That's a pretty clear os, to be honest. Ken taking the free kick again. Over to Wop once again, like the previous free kick. And Wop now is in the midfield. Switches it over to Acid. Acid is there on the right wing, looking for a potential cross here. He does indeed cross it, mouthed by PRX and cleared. Zov is there to get the clearance. Moving a bit laggy though. He is a bit laggy. Yeah. Yeah, that's a call. Yeah, there we go. Ken taking the free kick once again. Small one over to Acid. Acid has blue Q and does see him indeed. Blue Q now. He tries to dime it over to Gorky. A bit of server lag there. But we are underway again. Wop now. Tries to bullet Gorky and does get there. Gorky shoots. Beautiful block by Trin. Beautiful block by Trin. Trin switches it over to Ares. Ares switches the tempo of the game all over, losing. Bad pass, but accepting, still gets it and gives it over to Zov. Zov is running down the left wing once again, like many times in this match. Switches it over to Mela instead, and Mela is looking for a bullet over to PRX. PRX now. Looking for a bullet. Potentially, just tries to dribble in, gives it back to Zov. Zov now, looking for the pass in the box, does indeed get it, but Fred mosses it, and it's cleared over to Blue Q. Blue Q drivens it over to Tasho. Tasho instantly one-touches it to Corky. Beautiful. Corky dribbles above Shin, goddamn, and gives it over to Tasho. And Tasho now continues the flow of the game by passing it back to Blue Q. And this could be another goal for Sapphire Coast. Shoots, and it's a save by the keeper. Good save. Robert switches it over to Licks. Doesn't seem to quite have the options he wants, but does get a decent ball off, except it could get there. Yes, he does, and this could be a goal for Rockets finally, but locked down by Acid. Acid and Economic have been the walls that kept keeping together Sapphire Coast's defense so far. Corky now. Stolen by Trin, and it's a last attack for Rockets. GG's. It was a last attack for Sapphire Coast, sorry.